What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. So you've hit six figures. You've hit the magical $100,000 a year milestone. And number one, congrats, is obviously a huge deal for you to make it that far. So in this video, let's talk about some things that might be happening in your business, where you can go next, and what you can do if it doesn't feel as magical and all sunshine and rainbows as you thought it was going to. It's so common for business owners to get to 100K a year or around 10K months and realize that it's actually way more difficult to sustain their business at that level than they thought it was going to be. So let's talk about why. In my experience, both in my own business and with clients I work with, I find that 100K mark tends to be a point where it becomes really difficult to sustain that on your own. Yet it feels like you're not making enough cash flow to be able to hire more team members or to be able to outsource more, and so you're not totally sure what to do. In my opinion, I think when you get to this 100K mark, you have two choices. You either need to figure out how to run a business that's as lean as possible and to basically be a solopreneur and be able to charge high ticket prices, to be able to manage your workload and keep as much as possible of your sales in terms of how much you're able to pay yourself. Or if you're like the clients that I work with, then we want to get your business to around the 250K mark. So I feel like the 250K mark is actually the new 100K. At $200,000 or $250 in revenue, you have way more cash flow coming in that you can use to be able to afford more things in your business. You can hire more support in terms of team members. You can make investments to make your life easier. And in general, I think that it's actually easier to sustain a business at that 250K mark, give or take, than it is at around 100K. A lot of people think that when you get to 100K in your business, that it's going to be this magical milestone. You'll be so successful, you'll be making so much money, and I don't agree. So I feel like there's no magical revenue number that is going to make everybody happy and make everybody's life easier. It all depends on really what your business goals are. So I think in some cases, you probably want to grow your business a little bit more if you want to be able to hire more team members, and so you're not having to be there to run the day-to-day. For other people, they're perfectly happy in the day-to-day being the primary point of contact for their clients. So maybe you're happy at a lower revenue level. How much revenue do you actually need to come in to meet your goals? So I find a lot of business owners just tend to set arbitrary revenue goals. Once they hit, once they start their business, their goal is 100K. Once they hit 100K, it's to get to 500K or $1 million, and it just never ends. Meeting those arbitrary revenue goals is not actually going to necessarily give you what you want if you haven't put intentional thought into how much money you actually need to pay yourself a CEO salary, how much you need to be contributing to savings or investments to build wealth, how much you want to be able to spend in terms of overhead expenses, like what you want your team to look like, what you want your business model to look like, how closely do you want to work with clients, what types of things do you want to offer. So what I propose instead is that we calculate a more intentional revenue goal. So I like to go bottoms up and look at all of the cash outflows that you want to be able to cover in your business. So I've already mentioned those: owner pay, how much you want to be able to save or invest, what your overhead expenses need to be, including your dream team size. Adding all of those up, plus a little bit of a tax buffer, is going to get us to a more intentional revenue number, which might be bigger or smaller than you think it needs to be. So I think doing this exercise is definitely eye-opening for a lot of business owners. I have a revenue goal calculator that's totally free. If you go to the link underneath this video, you can download it and calculate your revenue goal. 100K in sales is not the same as 100K in profit, and it's not the same as being able to pay yourselves $100,000. So how do you actually get to a place where you can pay yourself a six-figure salary? This is different based on what your business model looks like. So if you're a solopreneur, you can pay yourself 100K by charging a high ticket premium for what you're doing and keeping your expenses really low. That way you keep basically all of your revenue as profit. But for those of you who want to grow your business bigger, we need to get real about how much it's going to cost to run a multi-six-figure business, because to be able to pay yourself a six-figure salary, you are likely going to need to grow your revenue to at least $250,000, $300K up to $500,000 or $600,000, again, depending on the business model and how big your team is. If you're on the cash flow hamster wheel and you're constantly chasing more sales, the next revenue target, here's my advice. I think it's really important to get clear on what your money is for in your business. So What is the point of you running your business? What do you want your business to actually do for you? Whether that is to retire early, to retire your spouse, to have an impact on your community. Let's step back and figure out where exactly are you going so that you don't have to stay on the hamster wheel and instead you can go, somewhere with an end goal in mind. Then I think once we know what the end goal is, we want to make sure that you design your business accordingly so that it generates consistent cash flow to cover all of your business expenses and to be able to get you where you want to go. Also, if you find yourself on the cash flow hamster wheel, understand this is really common. This happens to pretty much all business owners at some point. So good for you for even recognizing that you're there in the first place, and it is completely possible for you to figure out how to get off of it. Congrats again on getting to the 100K mark in sales. This is something that less than half of all women business owners ever achieve. So the fact that you've gotten there is an amazing feat in and of itself. So if you've gotten there and you still feel like I'm on the hamster wheel and I just feel burned out and stressed out, there's absolutely a way to get off of the hamster wheel. So if you feel like you could use some support with your financial strategy, with learning how to manage your money and creating an intentional financial plan to grow your business to the next level and also build wealth, then that is what I designed the Millionaire CEO Incubator to do. So go to millionaireceo.co/apply to take the next step.